Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be diving a bit deeper into the budget beginner board territory. Now, I know there's been a lot of controversy around this company recently, but they already have my money and I already put in the time for this, so we're going to take a look at how I built my GMMK Pro from Glorious. Compared to the GK68XS I reviewed previously, the GMMK Pro comes in some really nice packaging. Outside the box, you'll see a lot of fancy holographic branding, mildly cringy catchphrases, and a literal buttload of buzzwords. Underneath that, you'll find this bag containing a sheet of spare gaskets. We'll talk about the screws in there in a little bit. The keyboard that we'll just move to the side for now. Another one of those trash U-shaped switch pullers. A neon orange keycap puller yoinked straight from a 2012 Rave Girl's wardrobe. And a decent braided USB-C cable that is in use elsewhere because I'm definitely only unboxing this again for the sake of the video. The keyboard itself comes in this little foam bag. You have two color options, black and silver pretending to be white. Both versions come with color matched knobs and aluminum plates. Additional plate materials and knob colors are available on Glorious's website and they will shove them down your throat, trying to secure that extra bag. This is a bare bones kit. It only comes with the case plate, a bunch of foam, PCB and the stabilizers. It's got a fairly standard typing angle, centered USB-C port, and an inoffensive design for the most part. It's a 75% hot swap PCB with south facing switches, so no worries about interference here. All aluminum case with side firing LEDs. One of the biggest design complaints I hear about this board is the enormous Glorious branding on the bottom, but I almost never see it. Sure, it's kind of tacky, but you don't use a keyboard upside down. It comes out of the box, assembled and ready to use after you install your chosen switches and keycaps, but I'm too extra for that. So we're really gonna dive into this thing. Step 1, please remember to get your knob off, or else you won't get this thing apart easily. On the bottom, you'll find 8 Phillips screws. I do have to give Glorious credit here. They made the GMMK Pro knowing that people were going to take it apart and tinker with it, and they made that as easy as possible. It's actually like encouraged with this board. It might not sound like a lot, but this was like the first big box peripheral brand to jump into the custom keyboard space, and they got that part right. It's very easy and straightforward to disassemble this thing. After getting all of the screws out and removing the top case, you'll find part of the side lighting diffuser. It's like a 2-part thing. And these piss poor excuses for gaskets. The PCB is connected to the daughter board with another JST cable that I still struggled with, but not as much. In the bottom case, you'll find this big honking sheet of foam, another small piece of foam on top of the daughter board, and this neat little route for the JST cable that I actually think is a great quality of life feature for this board. You also find another set of gaskets on the bottom. These things barely qualify as gasket mount, honestly. They're so compressed when everything is put together that it's really just a glorified sandwich mount. There's no flex at all. This thing is so stiff. But it let them hit the gasket mount buzzwords, so. After dropping down my ugly blue mod mat, we can remove the plate from the PCB. The plate is attached to the PCB with an astonishing amount of screws. 8 screws between the top and the bottom. 2 screws on each side holding in the other piece of the side light diffuser, and then 2 screws in the middle on these standoffs that we definitely ditched and were definitely in that bag of spare gaskets earlier. Get all of those things out of here and we can remove the plate and find a sheet of foam in between the plate and the PCB. I usually hate this foam. It can really mute the sound of your switches, so we can get this piece of trash out of here. Now we can get to these stabilizers. I think we all know by now that the Glorious Goat stabilizers are terrible. Not only are they rattly, no matter how much Crytox you put on there, but they're sticky. I would recommend getting aftermarket stabilizers, but I didn't have any, so I did my best with the Holy Mod and some Crytox. I fixed the rattle, but you're gonna hear how sticky they are. Okay, so this board so far is stiff and muted and doesn't really offer a lot of flexibility when it comes to mods. However, there is one. I, like many others, have wet dreams about one day getting to own my own jelly epoch, but for now, I'm just gonna have to settle for a really scuffed version of it. The GMMK Pro comes in a sleeve of PE foam, if you remember back to the unboxing. And we're gonna cut that up and use it to mod this. Now, disclaimer, this can potentially break your PCB. You should really find some ESD PE foam to be completely safe, but I have other boards that I can use if I mess this one up, so I'm not too worried about it. To do this, you just cut out a piece of the foam to the size of your PCB, cut out space for the stabilizers and the rotary encoder. I used some leftover foam from all this cutting to cut out squares for the stabilized keys. After that, you want to secure the PCB and the side lining diffusers back to the plate while foregoing those pointless standoffs in the middle of the board. Once you've reassembled the plate and the PCB, you'll want to poke holes for the center thick pins of your switches. You should really use like a screwdriver, but I'm an animal, so I used a knife. All of the other pins should be small and thin enough to just poke right through, so you don't need to worry about anything other than the center one. Once again, we're going with the Gatoron Black Inks. Boring, I know, but this was meant to be my new daily driver, and I love these switches more than I love myself, okay? Just let me have this. I lubed these with Krytox 205 grade 0, but I skipped filming them this time because lazy, and more films wouldn't have shipped here before I did this. Once again, we're going to use the power of editing to fly through installing all of these, but I do want to take a moment to tell you to be careful here. You usually have to watch out for bent pins, but with the added resistance of the PE foam, you want to be extra safe. So just double check, make sure they're all straight when you're putting them in the first time. With all the switches installed, we can reconnect the PCB to the daughter board and plug in the whole keyboard to make sure we didn't just make a $170 paperweight. I did end up having some issues with a couple of switches, but it wasn't bent pins. I think it was small bits of foam interfering with the contact of the pins to the hot swap sockets. Reseating them solved the problem both times for me, but something to look out for. After confirming that everything still works, we can reattach the top housing in a weird way because of that rotary encoder and get to everyone's favorite part, the keycaps. This time around, I found a die-sub PBT keycap set from KP Republic on Amazon. They're sleek and stealthy, good legends, thick walls, cherry profile. I really like the black on gray. This set also came with yellow accent keys that I really wanted to use at first, but the yellow enter was warped so badly that it was absolutely unusable. But I honestly like this really stealthy look a lot more anyway. And for the cherry on top, I'm using the gold brass colored rotary knob because brass on black is just So this is it. This is my GMMK Pro. So, like I said previously, at the time of making this, Glorious is wrapped up in some controversy within the custom keyboard community, and for good reason. However, I've owned this board for a while now. They already have my money, and I wanted to show what I did to make the GMMK Pro feel better for me. When it launched, what you got for the price was almost unheard of. Since then, more and more competitors have hopped into the market, but the GMMK Pro is still definitely an option. The gasket mount is more of a technicality than a real feature. All of the included foam can make it sound pretty muted and dull. The goat stabilizers are anything but goated, as you probably heard from the sound test at this point. It's still a better board than a pre-built though, in my opinion, if you're willing to put in the time. I've heard that they updated the plates to fit more aftermarket stabs, but I don't have one yet. The board was built to welcome people to mod it, rather than close everything off and discourage you from opening it. I've seen some crazy videos of people doing wild mods to this thing. It's really all just what you want to make of it, and for $170, you can make it into anything. So that's it for my review and build of the GMMK Pro. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you did like it, a like, comment, or subscribe really means a lot to me. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.